Actually, this is our 4th episode.
How many takes we did for
We've
that?
taken so many takes.
We were 23 minutes into this episode, and then we realized the audio was corrupted. We had nothing to show, no audio file. Zaid had two. I told him, what did I tell you?
What did you tell me?
Use your hard drive because you don't have enough space on your computer
can
to
I
hold
ask
all
you a
the
question?
episodes.
Can I ask you a question? What USB plug do you want me to put my hard drive in? They're all used up.
You don't have to use it now. You can put some of.
I tried.
It doesn't matter. This is not the point. Well, he said Bismillah.
Point is, sorry. Today we're introducing our special guest. Introduce yourself.
I'm Isabella.
And what do you do for life?
For life?
I think he's just tired from the other take. What do you do for a living, Isabella?
I can't. What do you do for life?
Technical difficulties, but we're laughing.
Technical difficulties in there.
I thought she was gonna say something about my hands. This is my favorite hand.
Anyways, I just graduated university. Sorry. I just graduated university. I took international development.
So what is that?
International development focuses on international issues, so whether it's environmental, social, political, there's any issue out there, we'll focus on it. But it has to do a lot with people.
Okay, so how do you end wars?
Wow, that's hard to say.
Anyways, Isabella, how do we know you?
So I met Zaid first year, so about 4 years ago now. It was in which class again?
Plan 100?
Plan 100. And I was sitting at the back of the class. The class was just about to start. Actually, it started, and you walked in late.
And this was like I walk in late 3 classes in a row. I just be coming from somewhere and I walk in late.
Yeah. So you walked in late, and I was like, oh, this guy is so annoying. He's being late. Like he's late. He's being nosy.
Yeah.
Not nosy.
Zaid late?
Zaid?
Zaid?
Him? He's being like really loud, whatever.
And I think you were the one who was always sitting in the back. So it's always the one spare seat next to you, so I'll just come and sit
So
in
he
that
sat
seat.
next to me. And I'm trying to figure out where this guy's from. I thought he was like Latino or something, or I don't know. And then I asked him, I had a conversation with him. I asked him, where are you from, all this stuff? And he's like, well, I'm Iraqi, but I was born in Jordan, and I live in the UAE, blah, 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 all this stuff. I'm like, what? Anyways, that's that.
Okay, so yeah, fair enough. And then I think for first year, we didn't really have like a friendship. We were more like class friends.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
Then in second year, we took another class together, and then that's when we became more friends and
exactly.
stuff like
That's
that.
when we started like hanging out.
Yeah. So that's kind of. Then when Hussein came to university, obviously you knew me, so now you know him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Essentially, that's how we met. Isabella, what's your story? When did you come to Canada? How did you come to Canada? And where are you from originally?
Okay, so I'm from Colombia, which is located in South America. Okay, guys, remember that, South America.
Do people mistake where?
100%.
Where do people say it is?
Oh, some people think it's like in Mexico or in the Caribbean.
No.
I've gotten people ask me, do you speak Mexican? And I'm like, bro, Mexican is not a language, so I don't know what the hell is wrong with you. It's like, do you speak Canadian? Are you dumb? Anyways.
You have brain cell?
What?
You have brain cell?
Moving on swiftly. Very swiftly moving on.
That's like adding to the compilation of lame jokes that I have on this podcast. I'm just going to put it out there. That's fine. You know?
Anyways, so I'm from Colombia. And I left Colombia when I was about 2 years old, so I don't remember living in Colombia from like when I was born till I was 2. And then I moved to the US, lived there for about 4 years, and I remember everything there. I remember going to school.
Whereabouts in the US?
Close to Boston.
Okay. Do you want to shout out your municipality or is that secret?
So it was in Nashua, New Hampshire.
Okay.
Yeah. So I lived there. And what else? Yeah, and after that, I moved to Montreal.
Okay. And yeah, Nashua. If you don't know, watch The Office. You'll know about Nashua. Okay.
Holly Cromwell? No, not
Holly Flax.
Holly
bro.
Cromwell is for Suits.
No, Holly Flax, bro. Yeah. So from Nashua. If you don't know about Nashua, watch The Office. And then you moved to Montreal after directly. And then that's like your entrance into Canada. How was that for you?
So what a lot of people don't know is that when I moved to Canada, I basically, my mom and I took a taxi from where we were at, and we drove to the border of Canada, the US and Canada. We hopped off the taxi and we walked. We crossed that border by foot, and which is.
Did they give you problems?
Obviously, they did, but as we were crossing it, they didn't give us problems. When we were inside, obviously they questioned us. I remember being there for a really long time, and it was in the middle of the night too. And they had this little shed, and I remember it was so cold, and we were sleeping on the shed, and we were waiting for the officers to like interrogate us. It was so long.
So yeah, so where have you lived in Canada? Because I know you did move around a lot in Canada.
Yeah, so I first moved to Longueuil in Quebec, which is outside of Montreal, and then I moved to Montreal, and then I actually moved to Colombia for a year.
Okay.
And
Do you
then
remember that year?
I do. I was 10 years old, and even before that, once I got my citizenship, I would go to Colombia every single year, and I'd stay there for 3-4 months out of the year. And then after living in Colombia for a year, I moved back to Canada. I moved to Alberta.
Whereabouts?
In Airdrie, which is right outside of Calgary. And after that, I moved to Kingston in Ontario, and then Waterloo and Cambridge.
Okay.
How's your French?
That's good.
Oui, tu parles en français?
Oui.
Oui, moi aussi je parle français.
Non, tu parles pas français.
Non, ma français est très bien.
Non, premièrement, tu dis ma français, c'est pas ma français, c'est mon français.
Je m'appelle Hussein.
Le pomme de terre est très bien pour la santé. Ooh!
Oh, that was so random.
Yeah, like it's a nice sentence. Like, you just know it. But if you drop me in Paris or Montreal or in Quebec, I can get around.
Yeah, I know you can.
Yeah, anyways. So one thing I wanted to ask you about today, and I think it just feels like it's an important question to ask, and it's something that I think a lot of people will relate to you with, is how do you feel you maintained your culture coming from Colombia, especially because you came at a really young age, going to the States, going to Canada, having to worry about maintaining your Colombian culture, the language, Spanish language, versus fitting in, assimilating, quote unquote, into the Canadian culture, and then like basically navigating that clash?
I'm gonna tell you right now, it is hard, just because you're always exposed to the Canadian culture. Everything you do here, you're always speaking English. Your friends speak English. You can't, like, the food here is very American. You know what I mean? So it's hard to maintain the Colombian culture or the Latin culture, but I do try to make an effort. Just because I know I love my culture. So that means if I have to cook certain Colombian dishes or desserts or whatever, I'll do it. I mean, I love them anyway. So, or if I listen to, like, I'll listen to music in Spanish.
You speak Spanish?
Yeah, I speak Spanish too. So I'll watch TV shows in Spanish on Netflix, which has helped a lot because Netflix didn't have a lot of international TV shows before. Now it does. I have some Latino friends, which kind of helps as well, talking to them in Spanish. But it's so hard because once in a while I'll forget certain words, and at the end of the day, I'll have to assimilate. I have to. I can't not assimilate, you know?
You have to function well in the English
I'm sorry,
society.
what does assimilate mean?
Like fit into the culture.
Like, yeah,
It's like also
like adapt fully, like immerse fully into the culture. I have to, just because if I ever want to get a job or if I want to study, I'm gonna have to learn English. I'm gonna have to change a little bit my behavior or the way I interact with people. Latino people are very touchy. They're very, they like to show affection, things like that. People here are opposite from that. They're closed off. They don't like affection. They don't like touching, all that. So I have to change that because otherwise, people would see me like, what is this girl like? What's she doing? You know? So I have to adapt.
But I think you also keep both identities.
Yeah, I do.
For sure. Like, you can be, that's like cultural intelligence, right? Where you can kind of adapt your behavior to fit in with certain, and I'm not saying you have to adapt and constantly change yourself, but it's like your interaction varies depending on who you're interacting with and
100%.
the cultural, because doing something in one country may be culturally acceptable, but you go somewhere else it might not be, as you just said with like the touchiness, for example.
Exactly.
Right?
Don't you feel like while being multicultural, I guess, and multinational, I guess, don't you feel like you're neither?
Yeah, I do. Because I'm not, like I said, Canadians don't see me as 100% Canadian. I don't look like it, and I don't play hockey. I don't like hockey. You know, I don't do the typical Canadian stuff. I don't love Tim Hortons.
That's a prerequisite for
No,
being
it's
Canadian.
true because Canadians love their Tim Hortons. I don't love it. I'm not gonna bash it right now. I could, but I'm not going to.
Hey, Tim Hortons is fire, bro. Like, as an immigrant, I'll tell you, I like Tim Hortons. You know?
Anyways.
Canada number 1.
Or just like, what is it, the other one? Is it lacrosse? I don't go out of my way to like, I hate winter, like things like that, you know? I don't. So, but then I go to Colombia, and to them, I'm not 100% Colombian because my mindset is very different. I want to see Colombians or Latinos in general, not all of them, but some have a more closed off mindset. And I'm not going to get into why. There's just many factors that play into that. But to them, like, I also listen to Canadian music or to American music. The way I talk as well. I speak English, all that. So to them, I'm not 100% Colombian.
Yeah, they don't claim you. Like, even, you know, by the way, our family back home doesn't claim us as 100%
I figure, no, they do, but I had to fight for it.
Exactly.
Life
it's the same thing. They see me as Colombian, but the thing is, I sometimes struggle. Like, I don't understand certain slang that they use nowadays, or I don't dress 100% how they dress. So, of course, they don't see me as 100% them.
No,
you know?
for sure. I think it's then you get into a place where you're constantly having to prove, like, I belong with this tribe or with
And
these people.
exactly, and it gets exhausting because you just want to be you, you know?
Just accept me.
Exactly.
You know?
And I'm the kind of person that I'm accepting of all cultures. I like music from everywhere. I like foods from everywhere, whatever. But nowadays it's like you have to fit in certain categories. It's like you have to be this or this, and you have to like this or this, and it's exhausting.
You could be
You
both.
can't do both.
No, you could be mentally.
No, like socially speaking.
Socially speaking,
It's hard,
It's-
but I think
yeah.
we want to like get to a place, I think, where you want to be able to have both identities. Like they were saying the same thing. You remember when France won the World Cup a few years ago?
yeah.
So they were saying the same thing about people were saying the players, because the majority of the players are immigrants from Africa, right? Whether
Yeah.
it's like North Africa or West Africa, right?
Yeah.
So they were saying about how these players were either these guys are African, and some people would be like, these guys are actually just French. And one of the players, I can't remember which player, came out and said, we can be both. Like, I'm African and I'm so proud of my African heritage, but I'm
Yeah.
also French, and I'm happy to be French and I love being French.
Yeah.
I think you could be both. You know what I mean? So for me, I think that's a very, very important distinction to make. Like, you know, the duality of the cultures. Like, you can have both cultures be, you know, like a part of your identity.
Yeah, it's true. 100%. 100%.
Yeah, especially when you have to fight so hard for the original one if you're somewhere else.
But even, I feel like there's a sense of like you fight for it for yourself as much as for other people. Like,
That's a good point.
this is gonna sound
That's a good
to
point.
us. This is gonna sound like I'm repeating myself just because I said this on the last podcast that did not go through.
Yeah, you go through.
But I was talking about how like me and Zaid had to have like a jersey, a football jersey
Yeah.
from Iraq, like delivered to like our houses in Canada, you know, because like we felt like we needed that, you know, so we can represent our nation and like show that we're from. If we're in Iraq,
We
I
probably
don't
won't,
care. I will never buy an Iraqi jersey from it. I'll tell you right now, I'm never gonna buy a Canadian football jersey,
because we're here.
you know, because I'm here, you know.
Like, you already feel like you belong here.
Yeah, but in 10 years,
100%.
once I've spent all the time that I've lived in Canada, and let's say I go and live in like Spain, I'm gonna like want to have a Canadian jersey, you know, to like to represent like I used to be from here, you know.
Exactly. I'm the same way. I'm the
And it's
exact
not
same
for
way.
you or you or you. It's for me, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Because a part of you, some little internal part of you tells yourself, you're not Colombian.
Yeah.
I'm not Iraqi. You're not Iraqi. You know.
I've
But
killed
we are,
that part of me.
you know. And you but you say you do, but you didn't.
No,
You
because
say you did, but you didn't. And
What do you mean?
I didn't either, and neither. Because okay, I'll give you an example. You get extremely defensive when people say you're not proper Iraqi.
100%.
Why? Because there's a small part of you inside that's insecure about the fact that you're not as Iraqi as
That's 100%.
our cousins back home. You know?
That's
and
true.
you can
Fair
deny
enough.
that if
No,
you want
fair
to.
enough. But I think that's I don't like like something that's probably something we can explore, like, and I can explore. But I think there's also more to do with societal expectations. Like, I feel Iraqi. I feel Iraqi. I want to be.
Nobody's saying you're
You know,
not.
like,
Yeah.
then I have to go and fight somebody. Somebody might tell me, you lived abroad. You know, you didn't feel as much pain as we felt. You didn't feel as much hardship as we felt. I'm like, okay, I have my own version of that. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like,
That's
you
another
know?
thing that people tend to forget, especially back home. They think that because we live here, we're automatically rich and we got money and we didn't really have to work hard for that money.
I
It's like,
wish-
bro, you
How
got
many
one
Ferraris
job
do you
back
have?
home. Exactly. You got one job back home. I got three. You know what I'm telling you?
It's hard to make ends meet
it's
out here.
exactly.
Yeah.
It is hard. It is. so difficult.
It's hard. It's tough. It's
Yeah.
tough as hell. And you know, like that's also like another thing. So it comes to, but I think you have navigated that quite well in that you still speak
Yeah.
Spanish. You still speak the language. You are very tapped in with your community back home in terms of like staying in touch with family and stuff.
Yeah.
Even in terms of pop culture, you kind of have an eye to look out your favorite artists and stuff and check the latest, you know, what's going on and stuff in pop culture back home. So I think you have that tied down. But maybe some other people in your immediate circle might have had a different experience. I know you have a couple siblings, right?
Yeah.
Younger siblings.
Yeah.
Talk about how they've navigated that kind of cultural crisis. I don't know if it's a crisis. It's a crisis, cultural crisis in identity-wise.
Yeah.
And how they've, like where they've leaned.
So I have two younger siblings, and they
How old?
are 8 years old and 12 years old. They are both. They come from both like Colombian parents. So they have never been to Colombia. They grew up all their life in Kingston, which is a very, very small white city.
Okay.
So much emphasis on white,
White.
right there.
City. It's slowly but surely becoming diverse, but it's still very white. So they themselves, they don't speak Spanish. They understand it, but they don't speak it. So they, of course, they're gonna identify as Canadian. Yeah.
So, do they not understand? So, what's the difference between? Because you came to Canada at a very young age too. So why did you get it and they didn't?
Well, the difference is that so my mom was the one that raised me. So and when we lived in Quebec, there was a lot of Latin. There's a Latin community there. So we had Latin friends, like Colombian friends, you know, and so it was easy to speak the language, speak Spanish, and not forget it. And I had my mom there speaking to me in Spanish, and I only had to follow her rules. That's it, nobody else's, right? So when she told me to speak Spanish, obviously I'd speak Spanish, right? So now with my siblings, it's different because they have their own dad as well. And their dad has different rules than my mom. So he's more lenient on speaking English in the house, whereas my mom isn't. So they follow, like children, they follow
The easiest
whoever,
way, yeah.
exactly. And they follow whichever decision is best. Whichever parent, like if this parent decision affects me best or whatever I like best, I'm going to follow them, you know?
Fair enough.
So it's the same thing with them. It's the same thing.
Okay, I have a question for you. So, this is a little bit hypocritical of me,
Yeah.
but see, so we just had this whole conversation about like owning where you're from and
Yeah.
relatives feeling a certain type of way about where you are and your cultural like roots and backgrounds, you know. My little brother's Arabic is
Yeah.
really poor,
Really?
like shockingly poor. Like he cannot say a full sentence in Arabic.
Wow. It's the same
You
thing
know?
with my siblings.
Yeah.
They barely don't.
But I feel a way about that. As much as I know people from Iraq judge me for not being as Iraqi as them, a part of me is disappointed that my brother doesn't speak, at least at a bare minimum, the level of Arabic that I
But
speak.
let's be fair
you
to
know.
him. Let's be fair to him. It's not that he doesn't speak. It's that he doesn't practice. He knows the language. If you drop him in Iraq for 3 days, he's good. I promise you.
Possibly. He's going soon.
He's going soon. So
Yeah.
you'll see he'll get it back. It's not that he doesn't have it. It's that he just
It's the
hasn't
same
practiced.
thing because I find it's a little bit sad that my siblings don't speak Spanish. And it's like it's a language that they could have. It's to me learning any language is important because it stimulates your mind and learning another language helps you see things in a different perspective.
You start
right?
thinking in different ways.
Exactly, 100%. So a language has a lot of advantages, right? But I also understand why they didn't learn it because they weren't really forced to. And also they lived in a very white town where they didn't really need to use it. In Canada, you don't use the Spanish language.
Right.
So it makes sense to them. Why would they learn something when I don't need to use it? You know, they don't need to use it.
For sure. For sure. No, 100%. But I think now that they're a little bit older,
Yeah.
do they have an inclination to go back and learn like more of the language, or is it just like I'm here now, so it is what it is?
I think it's for them it is what it is, you know, because they've never been to Colombia and they won't be going anytime soon. So to them, they don't understand and value our culture as much as my mom and I do, because we've been to Colombia, we've seen what it's like, we understand the culture. For them, they've never. So it's like, for them, it's like, why even bother, you know?
It's not something personal to them.
Exactly.
Yeah, we got family here too that's to say that they've never been back home to Iraq, so for them all they know is here. So if that's the case, it's like, okay, why should I go back and learn anything?
Exactly.
Because, like, that's giving me nothing, you know what I mean? But it's deeper than that. I personally have a different perspective, but I also, like, I respect that sometimes different people make different choices based on their upbringing, and I didn't have that Canadian upbringing for as much as they did for me to be like, oh, I don't claim where I'm from.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So as far as, like, did you face any, like, type of, like, racism growing up as a Latina in Canada, and where, like, bouts was it worst?
See, the thing is, I did, but at the time, I didn't know it was racism. And I don't even know if it could still be counted as racism. Just because growing up, I don't even know if I should be sharing this, but growing up, I was the only person, actually no, there was 2 people of color in my school. My entire school, from grade 2 or grade 1 to like high school. There were maybe 1 or 2 people, and I was one of them.
Right.
So I always felt like the outsider. And I felt sometimes people treated me differently. So I don't know if that has to do with racism, or I don't know. Also, I see that people here have lack of knowledge when it comes to other cultures. Now, a lot of people they've come up to me and asked me if I speak Mexican. Like, to me, that's just stupid.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just ignorant. Or when they ask me, like, oh, so you're from Colombia, so does that mean, do you know Pablo Escobar? Or do you... It's like, to me, it's like, really?
No fucking way.
To me, that it pisses me off. Or like, do you sell cocaine? It's like, no! It's like little things like that. And
I will attest that the cocaine jokes about Colombia reached the Middle East back then.
Oh my God.
I've heard it before.
They think it's like, they think it's funny, but I'm like, no, man. If you understood the history of that era, then you wouldn't be making those jokes. You know? And another thing that gets to me is like, they think that Mexico, and there's nothing wrong with Mexico, they think that Mexico is the only Spanish-speaking country. They think the whole Latin America is Mexico. Like, I swear, that's how it is.
That's crazy. And Latin America is such a rich and diverse, diverse place and stuff. Let me talk a little bit about that. Latin Americans are diverse in the way they speak, in the way they look. They can range, they're like Arabs. They can range from very, very light skin, white passing, to very, very dark skin, and even Afro Latinos are
100%,
black, right?
100%.
So, like, I think someone told me this, and I agree with it. Like, Arabs and Latinos are the 2 most groups of people that have nothing to do with each other, that look the most alike.
Yeah.
You know?
It's because we're so diverse. We're both influenced from Europe and Africa. It's the same. You know, it's the same thing.
It's like a big blending pot.
Oh, 100%,
right?
100%.
I want to tell a story, actually, a funny story about one interaction that I had that had, like, got me mixed up. I told it on the last take of the podcast. That's why they're laughing, because I'm kind of repeating myself. But anyway, so I was at a bank in Toronto, in the East End. I don't know what I was doing, but like I was in line, and then there was a Hispanic woman. Is that the term?
Yeah.
Hispanic woman behind the.
Good job, Zaid. It's not Spanish. It's Hispanic. There's a difference.
Follow her YouTube channel. Plug your YouTube channel. She has a video explaining the difference between the three words.
Follow my TikTok. How about that?
Okay, follow
What's your
her.
TikTok?
It's IMBella. Follow it.
How do you spell that? I am.
I'm like the letter I am. Letter I.
So, Im.
Yeah, Bella.
Okay, so I go to the lady, like, to
We
just
follow you right now.
yeah, go follow her. I go to the lady behind the counter, and I try to, like, I want to go and just, I don't know if I wanted to deposit money or take money, but I reach like, it's my turn, and she comes up to me, she goes, hola, ¿cómo estás? She goes, hola, ¿cómo estás? And then she looks at me and, like, expects me to say, sorry, I don't speak, like, I'm sorry, hello, like I was confused, and she starts going in, like, a whole paragraph of Spanish, like, talking, and I'm not understanding. So then I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't speak Spanish. She looks at me, she's like, what, you don't know your language? You know? It's confused me so much.
Should have spoken to her in Arabic, man.
Then I told her I'm Arab. She goes, what is that? And then I was like, I don't know.
Disappointment.
I don't know, like, and then she, like, I tell her what I needed. She just has this disappointed look on her face, like, oh, this guy's so out of touch with his origins. Like, bro, what do you want me to do? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think you were there for a bunch of times too, where like you would introduce me with like a Hispanic friend as well, and I would
Yeah.
convince them that I was from somewhere in Latin America by getting off of saying one or two small words in Spanish that would be like, and then they'd be like, oh,
Sure.
are you Colombian? Where are you from in Colombia? Whatever. And I'll just be like, Cartagena. And then, oh, okay. And then they'll go into a whole tangent. Yeah, how are you? Muy bien.
That
And
happened
then,
in his head.
This, huh?
I think that happened in your head. I don't know what
I
No,
see.
you know this
Yeah.
happened once. I one of your friends, I don't know where they were from, but like Spanish speaking.
Yeah.
And like I said hi to him, whatever. I was like, my name is Hussein, and he must have heard Jose,
Oh.
and he went into like some blast of rapid Spanish speaking, and I looked so scared. I was like, no,
No.
yeah. It's like, because it catches you off guard. It's like, boom, there's a language you don't understand.
what do I say? How do I respond?
He's just like, freeze.
I would have just been like, muy bien. Yeah. I would have just said something simple like that. Like, it fits with anything. But yeah. Okay, so I want to get into something, change topic a little bit.
Yep.
So I keep having my eye on this because I'm scared it will crash. Hopefully it will not
No,
crash.
I've been keeping an eye on it, so
Okay.
you're fine.
I'm literally staring right. I'm not even looking at the camera.
Yeah, we're a bit paranoid right now. But Isabella, you are the proud founder of a small business in Ontario.
Yeah.
Tell us about that. What is your business?
What is it called?
So it's called IMBella. So the letter,
Surprise.
yes,
Okay.
the letter I, the letter M, and then Bella.
Mm-hmm.
I started this about, I want to say 9 months ago, give or take, about a year ago,
Okay.
during the lockdown, because I was just really bored. I was like, let me do something. I want a side hustle. I want to spend my time doing something productive, not watching Netflix. And so I've always been into earrings. I love earrings. And I was like, let me make them.
Okay, so your business is earrings.
Yes. So I do make necklaces but it's just mainly earrings, and they're made of polymer clay. So I make everything by hand.
And
Are
then
you
can
wearing
be
them
either
right now?
No, I'm not wearing them right
Oh,
now.
I was gonna tell
The
you to
ones
plug yours.
that I was going to bring, I stepped on them accidentally. So I was like, well, there it goes.
Yeah, but you do take part in a lot of fairs and stuff, and then like
Yeah.
events where you come in and they do have stuff for you to plug your small businesses in and things like that. So you take advantage of those
I
opportunities.
do.
for
I
sure.
try. I've realized that it's hard to get into them just because you need to sign up a year before.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it's really hard. So now I know. I'm ahead of the game now.
Okay.
So, but there's a lot of markets that I've been trying to be part of. Even here, Waterloo, Kitchener, Cambridge, even in Toronto, I try to be part of them. But this is my first year, so this is the first year I've really found out about all of them. Now, next year coming up, I'll be more prepared.
For sure, for sure.
Have you received reviews from customers?
I have.
What
I
do you
have.
normally say?
They really like it because it's creative. It's different. You know, it's not the typical like the hoops and the gold. You know, it's not. The earrings that I make, I try to make something different and has Latin American like influence in it.
Here's the thing. Not only is it different in that
Yeah.
sense, it's different in the sense that you're putting your personal time and your
Exactly.
effort and
It's
your
by
love.
hand.
And it's not
It's
like
labor.
it's not like you're making water bottles.
Exactly.
You know? You're making something you really care
It's something
about.
unique.
You know, exactly. It's unique. It's passionate to you, and I feel like if you're going and selling it to someone, I feel like they can appreciate
Exactly.
that. I worked hard on this, and then when they wear it, they'll wear it with pride because you worked hard on it.
Exactly. But at the same time, not everybody understands that because they compare it to something that was produced by a machine.
Right.
And obviously, labor comes with a cost. You know, finding my materials, putting it all together, baking them, all that. It takes time, and it takes
You say baking?
baking. Yeah, I bake
She makes them in the oven.
Yeah, I make them in the oven. Yeah, so I
Walk
it's
me
like
through that. Sorry. I'm very
sorry,
interested.
it's clay. So you know, like Play-Doh.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But it's stronger than that, and you have to like condition it, right? So it takes time to warm up the clay. 'Cause it's really hard. And then I make the shapes. Sometimes I make the shapes by hand. Sometimes I have like the cutouts. Once it's done, I put it in the oven for about an hour. Take them out, and then I sand them down because it can be a little bit rough. So I sand them down, and then I'll polish them. But there's sometimes it's more complex than that. But that's about it. Yeah.
That's so interesting.
Fair enough.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
And do you find that it's hard to keep up with like continuously making a lot over all the time, and does that consume a lot of your time? And how do you deal with that? Like, because I know any small business, especially ones where you're making the product yourself, any small business, like it takes a lot of your time. It's not a thing where you could just set up and leave alone. How do you navigate that? What challenges came with it, and what advice do you have for anybody who is thinking about starting a small business but is worried about the time commitment?
So with me, anytime I get an order, I give them a week at least to say, okay, from this day on, 7 days, you'll be getting your earrings or your necklace, whatever it is, right? Because it takes time for me to make it, and even if I, let's say, mess up or something, at least I have time to redo it, you know, because I'm still practicing too, you know. And what was the second question that you asked?
So how would you, like, in terms of like,
what advice
how do you navigate that time frame?
Right.
And then what advice do you give, like, in your daily life? Let's say, because you do have a job, like work, other commitments and stuff, and advice.
Right now, just because I've started, it's still a little bit slow. So I have times that I get busy, but then there's times that I'm slow. It all depends of what's coming up, what season, and whatnot. So I anticipate, like, I know, let's say December, I'm gonna be selling X amount of, let's say, jewelry. I should start making them now in November for December, you know? And that comes with, I think, with every business. When you're just starting, when it comes to small businesses or any business that you're creating, you really need to just time manage. Time manage is so important. You need to learn that skill because you don't want to disappoint your customers. And you want to, at the end of the day, what you're giving, like, you're also the image of that brand. It's from the moment that you talk to them and the moment you give them that item, it's that whole process that you're showing them. They're reviewing that whole thing. They're judging that whole thing. So it's very important to be consistent, to time manage, to really like what you're making or what you're providing, because otherwise it's just not gonna work out.
Fair enough. And what would you say if somebody's thinking of like starting a small business and they don't know how, like, if they can make the time work? How would you, like, daily wise tips to time manage? What do you have for people in terms of doing what you need to do in your full-time commitment plus also working on this side hustle thing?
The good thing about, like, side hustles, they're not full-time, at least at first. They're not full-time, so that's what it is, a side hustle. You do it on the spare time that you have. So if you know you're going to be doing a side hustle, make sure you prioritize that too. Make sure you allocate time for that. Because again, if you want to essentially create a product, create a service, and make your customers happy and also make money on the side, you need to make sure you prioritize that. Otherwise, you won't be getting either. You won't be getting customers and you won't be getting money, you know?
For sure.
So you were talking about, like, how it's like it doesn't take that much time. Would you eventually like to turn this into a bigger full-time thing?
I do. Eventually, I do. It's just right now with me trying to find a job in my field and all that, I do eventually want to create my own business and have IMBella as a big brand, and within that have different subsections.
Okay.
I just haven't gotten there yet because I'm in I'm still learning about business. I'm still trying to figure out which field I want to be in, trying to figure out myself. So
no, for sure. And it doesn't happen overnight. I think it's an important thing to say that this business doesn't happen overnight.
It takes forever.
And there's a lot of preparation that goes into it too. I think we're learning that with, like, even just making this podcast now. Like, you have to have a certain amount of material before you release, like,
everything, any business.
Like,
one thing I've learned, nothing in life comes easy. Nothing. You see these people being millionaires overnight and becoming, super successful overnight. It's not, because they put a lot of work into it before. Like, they put so much, you just don't see it. That's the thing. People see me like, oh, you got this, you're traveling here, you're traveling there, but you don't understand, like, how much work I put into that,
Yeah.
So it's the same thing with everybody.
To get to the smallest success, it takes a mountain of work at first, but I think it's that, like, if you're passionate about your small business or you're passionate about your idea, stick with it, because that's when you really start to see, like, it's the beginning stage that's kind of hard. You have to get it off the ground. We're feeling that now. Like, this is the beginning stage for this podcast as well.
There's no elevator to success. You gotta take the stairs.
Woo! Good job.
thank you for interrupting
Most
me for
welcome.
the most cliche quote. I appreciate that, But as I was saying before, I was rudely interrupted by my brother. You have to like stick with the grind at the beginning. You're just understanding that it's harder to get the ball rolling at first, especially like if you're creating like a video-based or audio-based service. Okay, let's say you have to stack up certain episodes. If you're in earrings, you can say, oh, I have to have a certain amount of earrings before I... Like, there's a lot of preparation that you don't realize.
One thing is consistency. Anybody can come up with the materials. Anybody can have the brains for it, whatever. But not a lot of people will stick to it. They get bored. They don't see the results. They become impatient, all this stuff.
The guy who made KFC, he popped off when he was like 70.
Exactly.
Like, it takes time.
What's her name? J.K. Rowling?
Yeah.
Yeah, she didn't... it took her about, 10 people, 10 agencies for her to finally get someone to say yes to her. Like, she was in her 40s or something like that.
J.K. Rowling is a woman?
Yeah.
How was envisioned the man?
No.
It's literally
Your biases, man. No, it's a woman, yeah. So it's just there's a lot of people, even Oprah, all these people became successful later on in life.
If you're passionate, stick with it. Even if it's like a side hustle, it doesn't even have to take over your main income. It just has to be something that you do and you're passionate about, you stick with. That's where it goes for you.
I think it's because it's like, nowadays it's trending that, like, you see all these, like, YouTubers that are, like, 20, 25, 26, or these TikTokers or whatever, and they're, like, millionaires. So now everyone wants to, like, they feel like they want to catch up.
Oh, 100%.
Like, I'm 20, and I only have less than $1,000 in my bank account. I'm a failure, and my life
And
is
I've definitely
going
felt
nowhere.
that. I've definitely felt that because I'm 25, and I see some of people I know, and they're 25, and they already have a house. They've put a down payment for a house, and I'm like, shit.
So
I don't even own a house,
It's those YouTube ads, the ones that tell you, oh, do you want to get rich like me? And he has like 5 Lamborghinis in the background. So there's a lot of pressure from social media, definitely for sure. I want to ask you, so logistics-wise, creating your small business, if like Ontario, Canada, or wherever, you had to get it registered.
Yeah.
Right? How do you go about, like, in terms of taxes and stuff like that? What do you consider, just for anybody who wants to know?
I'm not an expert in this. I'm still trying to figure this part out. I figure it out as I go, and when I talk to people, they give me more information and all that. But so registering your business has its pros and cons. You can always not register it, and you can just accept cash and obviously not pay tax into it. But if you do decide to register it, you go on the Ontario website, you will register your business name, you give all the info, where it's located, if it's you have any employees, etc. There's a lot of questions, and you have to pay for business thing.
License?
Yeah, license. And I can't remember how much it is, and I can't remember if it's 5 years or every year you have to pay for it. I don't remember. And then once you register it, the good thing about it is that you can all the expenses that you've put towards that business. So in my case, it would be like the clay, all the tools that I've been using to make the clay, to all that stuff, my energy bill, the gas to go to the markets, even certain foods depending.
The refreshments that you might get if you're at a market. I remember when I was helping you at the fair. We went and bought water bottles for us.
Exactly.
And that was included with
Exactly. You can keep those receipts, and at the end, it could be reduced. You can have a reduction in your tax, so you don't have to pay that much taxes. An example, like, these numbers are really off. Like, let's say you have to pay $10,000 in taxes. And now, because, let's say, this is an example. And now, because of all the stuff, all the money you've put into this business, let's say now you get 50% off. Now you're paying $5,000 in taxes instead of 10 because all the money that you put into the business. Now, it doesn't always work out that way. It's not always 50%. It really all depends of what you're buying, how big your business is, and all this stuff.
Your overall tax situation in general.
Exactly.
Right? So the other thing is I wanted to say is make sure you guys are also aware, and I think you also know about this as you continue to explore more and more.
Yeah.
For small businesses in Ontario and Canada and in most countries in the world, there are grants and stuff, and those you could take advantage of, right? 100%. So especially like certain governments who want to come in and they want to support small businesses, they do it through grants, they do it through loans. How have you been finding that process, and what advice would you have for people in that sense?
I'm going to be honest, I haven't been looking for grants or loans or anything like that, just because I don't think I need it at the moment. Once I do get bigger, I think I will need it. That's really, honestly, I know Ontario provides grants and loans. You can Google them. It's not that hard to find. You can go on the Ontario website. It's not hard to find, but I haven't explored that area yet.
But definitely it'll be something you're thinking about down the line.
For sure.
It's important. Like, a lot of people don't know that they have this resource, right? So, like, if your business grows to a certain extent, you need help with expenses to keep up. Check the options in your local government, see what the provincial or state government that you're in may have, and that could really change things for you, right?
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you wanna give in terms of words of advice for anyone making a small business, just to discuss with those people directly? Say, okay, if you're thinking about a venture, you might be passionate about something. Where do I start? Should I do it? What would you say to them?
Well, discover what your passion is. And even if it's something that I don't know, like I had a coworker say the other day that he really liked cleaning fish tanks. He likes fish, all that stuff. He said he can create a side hustle out of anything, which is true. So what he did is that he would clean fish tanks, and he charged people for it because people don't like cleaning their fish tanks. Something so simple like that, there's a market for that. You know, so anything you want or anything, whatever your passion is, you can find a side hustle into it. So as long as you do your research and all that, how are you gonna be making it, or how you're gonna provide that service, how you're gonna reach X amount of people, all that, you'll be fine as long as you stay consistent. That's it.
For sure.
And finally, like, if I could tell you to give one piece of advice to any viewer who might be like younger.
Yeah.
And from Latin America who grew up in a different culture.
Yeah,
what
let's
would you
reverse
tell
that.
them?
Latin America, or even generally coming from a third culture, coming to a Western country.
First advice is that I just want to tell them that they're not alone. Whatever they're feeling is that they're not alone. Because they might feel confused. One day they'll feel like this, next day they'll feel like that. Nobody understands them, etc. They're not alone. A lot of people here feel the same way. And it's just, I think this goes to any immigrant or any person that grew up in a different, or was born in a different country and migrated here, whatever. They're not alone. That's all I have to say.
I guess you can even say that, like, fine, your home community doesn't accept you 100%, neither does your new one. But I guess we all have our own little community of the unaccepteds.
Exactly.
We can be there for each other too.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
And you're free because you do have an affiliation to both. You're free to tap into whichever you'd like, right? I think it is important that you reconnect with your culture if you have come from. It's just because that's a part of your identity regardless. But I think you're free to choose where you want to make your, main type of, like, not loyalty, but like where you identify with.
Yeah.
And I hope that you can find something to make you feel home, because I certainly, for me, my country of origin makes me feel home, and that's where I want to identify with. But I know a lot of my family and stuff, they feel with the westernized country. So as long as you find that base, as much as maybe there's a reason for anyone to say to anybody, regardless of the immigration status, why they won't accept them 100%.
Yeah.
There's always going to be people that tell you certain things, but just being aware that none of that matters. It's just you, what you identify with. If you have an allegiance or any way to relate to that place, and you want to give yourself to it, don't give yourself to it, but you want to come from it, or say you're affiliated with it, go ahead. With that in mind, Isabella, any shout outs you want to shout out? Any people that you want to shout out? Anything?
Guys, please follow my TikTok and Instagram account.
IMBella.
IMBella. And actually, it's
We'll put it in the description too.
Yeah, on Instagram it's IMBella.ca, and then TikTok is just IMBella, and Facebook too, IMBella. Don't forget about that one.
Is it IMBella CA or IMBella?
IMBella, that's it.
When you sleep at night, just keep IMBella engraved in you. That's
I
your
am
new
Bella.
life, IMBella.
Exactly.
Guys, if you need gifts for the wifey, the girlfriend, your mom, your auntie, your grandma, anybody, this is the place. Mother-in-law,
auntie-in-law,
cousin,
great
Exactly, anybody.
great aunt,
niece, daughter,
sister, brother's girlfriend, uncle's wife.
Oh my god, this guy.
Okay,
yes, all of them.
anybody, like women gifts, IMBella, that's where you need to go.
Yes.
You offer shipping Canada?
Yes, I do.
What about US?
I do too.
Worldwide?
Shipping in Iraq?
Not yet.
It's coming though, right?
Yes.
Hopefully.
Was it? Inshallah.
Inshallah. Alright, well, that wraps it up for us. Thank
Isabella,
you guys
it's
so
been a
much for
pleasure.
tuning in.
Thank you so much.
Isabella.
My god, thank you guys for having me.
We
Our
appreciate
pleasure.
you being
Our
on.
pleasure.
Thank you so much. And with that in mind, peace. Take care. Pose for the thumbnail one time. Alright.